What's up guys, this is All Day and Day 1 on the PS4 and I'm going to be giving you a build breakdown for Squirrel Girl. So let's go ahead and look at her traits. Her, on the left side, Squirrel Cunning. She gains a 15% crit hit damage automatically. Her two main attributes are fighting and speed. In the middle, Squirrel Friends. Summon a Squirrel Friend when you hit with a power. Max squirrels you can summon up to is 20. Which is a ton. No, I think it was 15 at first. With the talent, I believe it goes up to 20. The duration for them is 30 seconds. Squirrel stats, pounce damage 527 to 791. Squirrel Cunning, health on hit 280. Deflect rating and dodge rating multiplier are 20%. Deflect and dodge rating are 600. You gain close quarters when you hit with a melee power. You get a damage reduction for 8% for 8 seconds. So this build is a squirrel build, not a claw build. So you will have forest walk as your dash ability on L2 circle. Baffling dialogue, your signature. Well, not signature. It's a crowd control. It's a confusion ability on L2 square. Dire Squirrel on X, Squirrel Saboteurs on Square, Hulkbuster Squirrels Engage. That's is that what it's even called? Whatever. The one with the acorn on Triangle, Squirrel Apocalypse on Circle, Acorn Artillery on L2X. It's Raining Rodents on L2 Triangle, and that's it. So It's Raining Rodents is your signature, so you want to always have a signature in your loadouts no matter what character you are. It does 9259 damage twice per second with 100% base damage. 50% movement speed is decreased for your enemies that are hit. Duration is 6.5 seconds, cooldown is 25 seconds. Acorn Artillery, a distant group of squirrels lob giant acorns high into the air to crush enemies at the target location. 9211 to 13,816 damage. 3%. You gain 3% more damage for each summoned squirrel friend. Stun duration is 2 seconds and it costs 15 spirit, 8 second cooldown. Hulkbuster Squirrels Engage. Command your squirrels to activate their Nano Extremis Hulkbuster Squirrel armor designed by Mr. Stark himself. Then use the armor to rocket head first into your enemies. Damage is 6890 to 10,334 per hit, and it's a 24.9 spirit cost and 8 second cooldown. Squirrel Saboteurs entice one gamma infused super squirrels to attack your enemies for each counter used when you trigger this power. Damage is 6993 to 10,489 per hit. Max charges is 6 and is a 1.5 second cooldown. So the thing about this is sometimes they don't actually run up and attack enemies. So I just use it. You have to kind of aim at the enemy, and then as long as they kind of like get near them, they'll run through them, and it'll do damage. But that's really it. They won't. I haven't seen them actually attack the enemies, but I mean it still works for damage. Squirrel Apocalypse, summon an unstoppable torrent of squirrels that tear into enemies, causing bleeding wounds with their sharp teeth and claws. Damage 8106 to 12,159, 3044 twice per second, and they gain vulnerability towards the enemy. There is no duration, but with the talent there is an 8-second duration. Without the talent, just by itself, it's a spammable ability as long as you have the spirit to spend it with. Dire Squirrel, summon a loyal assault squirrel to bravely charge into the fray, bounding between enemies. 3488 to 5232, 11 on hit. You gain spirit 11 on hit. Projectile passes through enemies. So what it does, it's a piercing ability. So it'll summon a squirrel and they'll just run through the enemy and hit multiple enemies at once, as long as they're hitting them, or as long as they're within the radius of it being able to hit them. Baffling dialogue, so it's just another confusion ability. But the thing with this, the duration is pretty long and the cooldown is pretty quick. So you definitely want to have this. Confusion duration is 6 seconds. Confused enemies deal 2000% more damage to other enemies. Summoned minion stats, damage bonus 50%, duration 5 seconds, spirit cost 15, cooldown 10 seconds. And yeah. So for the talents, I went to the bottom one on the first row, Hulkbuster Squirrels. Squirrel presence transforms into Hulkbuster Squirrels Engage. Hulkbuster Squirrels Engage causes all active squirrel friends to done whatever extremist to do extremist power squirrel sized Hulkbuster suits, then fly headfirst into enemies. So definitely want to have that on. Squirrel's best friend. So honestly, there's 3 different ones, or 2 different ones you can go for. You can go for infectious excitement or girl's best friend. I just went with this because you gain a squirrel ally forever, and it also gives you inspired while you're in combat too. So that's a good one to have. Infectious excitement is also good to have because it does nice damage, and you also gain something called Excited Squirrel. Excited Squirrel bounces to enemies struck instead of piercing. You also have a 5% chance to use Death from the Trees, and that does 16,445 to 24,668 damage, but that's every 4 seconds. So yeah. Oh shoot. Nope. For the third talent, I went with Swell the Scurry. Squirrel friends can call up to 5 more squirrels. Baffling dialogue bonus effect. Summoned minion stats. You gain 50% damage bonus. Duration is 5 seconds. Cooldown is increased by 4 seconds. So this is another way. This is how you get the other 5 squirrels. So you generally would have 15 squirrels, but you would use this to get another 5, and then you would also use it to get the bonus damage and duration and cooldown, whatever. The next one you're going to use is Free Hugs. It's Raining Rodents. Cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. It's Raining Rodents instantly resets the cooldown of your other abilities and fully restores Squirrel Saboteur's charge. Squirrel Stampede. Squirrel Apocalypse gains the effects of projectiles fired. Or Squirrel Apocalypse gains the effect following effects. Projectiles fired, you get +2. Total damage is increased by 100%, and cooldown is 8 seconds. So this is the one I was talking about. Instead of being able to spam it goes on a cooldown, which is fine because it's 100% more damage for it, and it shoots 2 more of the Squirrel Apocalypses anyways. And you have other abilities on cooldown too. So for my synergies, you want to go for Angela. Don't need Ant-Man. You don't need Beast. You don't need Black Panther. Black Widow is okay. Blades you don't necessarily need, but you can have it. It helps, I guess. Hold on, hitting text speed. Don't necessarily need Captain America's or Captain Marvel's. Colossus helps. Cyclops is you don't need. Daredevil's helps. Deadpool's you don't need. Doctor Strange you don't need. Gambit you don't need. Just Ghost Rider you don't need. Hawkeye helps. Hulk's helps. Iceman you don't need. Iron Fist you don't need. Iron Man helps because of the range. Jean Grey's helps because of the range. Kitty Pryde's helps because of both. Luke Cage helps because of the durability. Magic's helps because of health on hit and the summon. Moon Knight's helps, but you don't necessarily want to rely on it. Nova's helps, but you don't necessarily need it. Psylocke you don't need. Punisher, the range damage helps. Rocky Raccoon, the summon power damage you definitely want to have. Scarlet Witch you want to have. She-Hulk you don't need. Spider-Man it helps. The Squirrel Girl you definitely want to have. Star-Lord you don't need. Storm you don't need. Thor's you don't necessarily need. War Machines you always want to have that, and Wolverine's You don't need Wolverines, although if you do use a melee build, you would want to use Wolverine's Claws synergy. For my synergies, I put 11 points into strike through and the rest into fighting. So I normally put my points into my main attribute. Um, if you don't want to put points in your main attribute, if you don't have 25 points, you need to go with strike through, mental focus or mind over matter for the crit, potency for the extra damage towards signatures, restoration or inner resilience, micro warps or gravity well, and temporal loophole. The gear that I'm wearing on her, I'm using 3 cosmics and the rest of purple. I completely forgot what I was using here. I'll probably just put Relic of Atlantis. Actually, no, I would put Relic of Xander on. So for my artifacts, I'm using Cybernetic Implant. You can get this from really any boss. Not so the Squirrel, you can also get this from any boss, and this is honestly a good artifact to use for as well, because she is based off of fighting, and you can get +3 fighting from this artifact. Summon powers you definitely want to have, and the crit hit. You don't necessarily need the claw powers right now because you're not using any claws, but if you were, this would still be a good one to use. Advanced Wonder Gore Clay is nice to have as well because you get fighting and summon powers, and you can summon a raptor and you get crit hit rating. Relic of Xander because of the rate damage towards ranged powers. Relic of Gibberim, no, not that one. The one with defense, I completely forgot what it's called. But yeah, the one with defense or Relic of Xander. The genetic mutation catalyst, you want to, so I have one of the good ones, one perk that's good, or actually 2 of them. You take 2.1% less damage from enemy AoEs. The one you want to have is this one. When you use a med kit, you regenerate 25% of your health up to 3,100 spirit. For the mutation bonus, the purple, you want to have when you use a med kit, you gain 5,000 health back. And for the cosmics, for the cosmic catalyst, for the cosmic talent or whatever, or bonus, you want to get the one where you use a med kit and you gain a shield that's gives you 50% of your max health, or is the duration of, not duration, but durability of 50% of your max health. For my medallion, I went with Mandarin medallion, but you can go with the Sinister medallion because what that does is when you use a summon, I believe if you use a summon ability, you gain more summon damage, or something like that. Mandarin medallion is a good one to have for any ranged character as well, or Pyro's medallion for ranged characters. Another good one would be Dr. Doom's. You get +1 attribute to all your attributes, and you also, it comes from when you use your signature, and I can't think of any other medallions at the moment that would be good. For your legendary item, you would want to go for Savage Axe of Ares, the Shield of Perseus, and the Trident of Neptune. I believe that's what it's called. For my stats, my health and my damage reduction are extremely low. 25,429 health, 27% damage reduction. So you can, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you can definitely hit higher health and damage reduction than these, even in full blue gear. But yeah, I don't know how I got that low. For my offensive stats, I have 2174 crit hit rating, 2848 crit damage, 1171 brutal damage, and 2343 brutal damage, and 100% base damage. So you can hit the crit hit rating. You'll probably get this in like full cosmic gear, not necessarily optimizing crit hit, but yeah, with purple gear, you want to aim for at least 1600 plus. If you can get 2000, then that would be even better. For the crit damage, you want to be where I'm at with this. If you're in full purple gear, you want to be around like 2500 to 3000 crit hit. If you're a full cosmic, you want to be around 3000, 2800 to 3000. For the brutal strike, you want to be with the same with the crit hit. You want to be at 1600 plus. With the brutal damage rating, you want to be at 2500 to 3000 plus. For your base damage, you want to be at least 60% and at least 80% at 60% of the bare minimum. 80% is where you generally want to aim for. Anything higher is better. So I will go ahead and show you the abilities that I use. So this is just X, and as you can see, I'm summoning multiple squirrels every time I attack. So this is square, this is triangle. All the squares that you had summoned, just go up and start attacking like that. This is circle, summon a bunch of squirrels to drop down like that. Square, L2 square confuses your enemies, so as you can see, they have a giant, like, not a giant, but they have a circle around their head, meaning they're confused and they're going to be attacking each other. This is the acorn artillery, and then this is your signature, L2 triangle. And yeah, so that's basically it for Squirrel Girl. If this video helped you out, or actually before I say that, make sure you really don't give up on this build, because this is a good build. It did take me a few tries, mainly because my health and damage reduction is so low, but the damage output was perfectly fine, and you really don't have to do too much. You can just, it's kind of like playing with Rocky Raccoon, except Rocky Raccoon is a better summoner. And his summons technically take all the damage. Your squirrels don't take any damage, but you really don't have to do too much fighting. You just summon your squirrels. But what I would do is I would highly suggest that you try it out in like patrols and operations and the story and whatnot. But if you want, you can go ahead and just put this build on right away and then go straight into Cosmic Trials and beat it the first time. But yeah, so if this build helped you out at all, go ahead and leave a like, comment, message me, or tell me if it helped you out. If you have another build in mind, or not build, but whatever. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I do plan on making a claw build for her down the road. I'm not sure when, but when I do, I'll let you guys, I'll post it. And yeah, this is All Day Any Day 1 on PS4, and have a good day, good night, and peace.